Hello everybody, my name is Michael Knipp and I am here for a tag. It's been a minute. When I first started BookTube, tags were my favorite thing. It was a great way for me to interact with this community, and somehow, somewhere along the way, I started reading enough books that I could just do like book reviews and wrap-ups and other bookish discussion videos, and it sort of replaced the tags with the number of videos that I was making. I don't know how that happened, and I didn't mean for it to happen. So if you'd like to see more tag videos from me in the future, please let me know by supporting this video, either with thumbs up, comments, sharing it if you think it's fun. Tags are fun. I'd like to do more of them if that's something you guys would like to see. I was tagged to do the anti-TBR tag by Luke Edwards. The dude is funny. You should go check him out. I'm going to link his channel down below. I recently met Luke and it has been a lot of fun dialoguing with him about various things, including like WandaVision. I think he brings interesting insights to book discussions in the book community here. Anyway, I just think it's funny that this is the tag that I'm coming back on because it's the anti-TBR tag and it's so different than the vibe I normally try to give off here on the channel. Because, hey, I don't think that everybody needs to like the same things. I don't like to pee in other people's weenies. If you like books, I don't like to rain on your parade. But also sometimes you just want to know what I actually think about things, so I'll try to do a balance here. Question number 1. What is a popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading? So obviously there are lots of books that I don't necessarily have an interest in reading, but I wanted to sort of tie it into something that has any relevance on this channel or my previous tastes at all. So I will say The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Those people new to my channel may not be aware that back, I think in 2019, I read Daisy Jones and the Six and absolutely loved it. I think Taylor Jenkins Reid did an amazing job at capturing the essence of the emotional ties and connection to music. And her book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, is way more popular. I think more people identify with that one. But because of the premise of that one being about a Hollywood starlet and her many relationships, I have no interest in reading that one at all. I love the work that she did with Daisy Jones and the Six, but the premise of that being about a fictional rock band was interesting to me in a way that The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is not at all. A bonus answer to this question is I absolutely loved reading Dune. I read Dune one time and it was a wonderful experience. It was super immersive. There are so many things about that book that I think are amazing. The problem is when I finished that book, I had no desire to continue along with the series. I remember thinking the midway point through that book. This could probably also serve as an answer to one of the later questions, but I remember about midway through reading Dune thinking this book is so amazing, I'm gonna have to read this whole series. But when the book actually ended and the way that it ended and just everything around the wrap up of that book, I remember finishing the book and saying, I'm actually good. No, I think I'm done. And since then, I have wanted to reread Dune, but I've had basically no interest in wanting to continue the series. Number 2, a classic book or author you don't have an interest in reading. I'm being completely honest. Prior to me reading Alan from the channel The Library of Alexandria, I had essentially no interest in reading the Discworld books, Terry Pratchett really. It just didn't sound like my sort of thing, and I know that may be considered blasphemy to some people here. It wasn't something that enticed me to read it. But the hard sell that Alan does, the passion that he talks about that series, he's made me want to pick it up in a way that feels inevitable at this point. I have to at least give Discworld a shot. I have this trait where if I hear people talk passionately about something, even if it's something that I have very little interest in, it creates an interest in the thing for me. I remember one time I like to play with technology and computers and video games, but I have no idea how to use my hands for anything. I remember listening to a podcast where people were talking about building their own custom arcade cabinet. I mean, maybe I should give that a shot. And I went home and I told Amanda, I was like, hey, Amanda, I should build an arcade cabinet. And she looked at me, she's like, who are you? And I thought about it for about 5 seconds before going what the heck am I talking about? I have no idea how to do that. What? Just listening to people excitedly talk about something makes me excited to do it or try it myself as well. Alan, you've done that for me with the Discworld series with Terry Pratchett. Sir Terry Pratchett. I think I'm Sir Terry Pratchett. Another classic, what does classic even mean? A classic fantasy series, I guess, Terry Brooks, the sort of Shannara stuff. I haven't really had any interest in that ever. 3, an author whose books you have no interest in reading. We'll say E.L. James because of the Twilight connection. I really like the Twilight series. 4, an author you have read a couple books from and have decided their books are not for you. Okay, so I'll cheat on this one. I've read one J. Kristoff book, and it was technically a collaboration. It was Obsidian. No, it was Illuminae. Obsidio was part of that series. It was Illuminae by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I don't think that I'm a J. Kristoff fan. When the book Nevernight came out, all of the discussions surrounding Nevernight made me really hard nope from J. Kristoff, and the things that I heard talked about in Nevernight reminded me of the things that I hated most from Illuminae in a way that I don't think that he's just an author that I care about reading. To put it nicely, I don't think I like his style. To put it a little bit meanly, it feels kind of like something written by like a try-hard edgelord old person trying to sound like a young person, but failing. But to put it nicely, it's not my thing. 5, a genre you have no interest in or a genre you tried to get into and couldn't. I like to try to have an open mind, and I like to try different things than the stuff that I always normally read. Obviously, I keep coming back to this adult fantasy wheelhouse, but things that are considered more literary tend to turn me off immediately. I don't like the word literary fiction because it sounds, I don't like to use the word pretentious, but I also don't know if that's more or less offensive than just saying like it sounds like it's got to stick way too far up its own butt. The way that like typically the literary community, like the literary fiction community compared to the regular fiction community, like it's like, you know, this is for fun and this is real reading. Like, I don't like that sort of gatekeepy ideal mindset. Also, like, my forays in my booktube experience into like the more literary side of things, with the exception of like Frederick Bachman, has been mostly extremely negative. In fact, there was a book I read early in my booktube career. It was called Smoke, and I think technically it probably is literary fantasy. It was not great. I feel like sometimes it's too focused on trying to make some kind of weird extrapolated analogy or comparison or metaphor and less interested in making a story in a way that just feels presumptuous to say like, what makes you think that you are the expert on some subject matter? And the answer should be, I guess, like what they're saying. Is it interesting? Is it make sense? But it comes across as just not vibing with me. It almost feels gatekeepery from its own inception. And I think it could also lean towards being traditionally boring or overly purple prose in a way that doesn't click with me. If you like literary fiction, good for you. But for me, unless I put on my open mind, like I have to set myself to open mind and brain check myself. When I hear literary or like overly literary things, I hear and go, nope. Number 6, a book you have bought but will never read. This can be a book you have unhauled or returned to the library unread. I'm going to say The Shadows by Alex North. Alex North's first book was called The Whisper Man, and it was a book that I really enjoyed. I give it 3 stars, but it basically used one of my least favorite tropes, which I cannot explain here because it's sort of a spoiler for the book. And it's also a spoiler for this book because I guess it uses it again. Like I said, I had fun with The Whisper Man, but the way that it ended really rubbed me the wrong way. And when my wife read The Shadows before I did, she said, hey, it does the same thing. It's the same thing. But I had hopes that it was going to take a different direction, and it sounds like it didn't. So I have The Shadows by Alex North, but I really don't care to read it. A series you have no interest in reading or a series you have started and have DNF'd. I guess I could have used Dune for that one. I sort of DNF'd it, but I love the first book. It's a weird one. As a joke answer, I could say The Cruel Prince. I read The Cruel Prince, or I tried to, before my Twilight foray, and I think I was really nice in the way that I talked about that book in my wrap-up, but I very much didn't like it. I very strongly disliked it, and I had no good thoughts about it at all. I just said, hey, this isn't for me, but I didn't even finish the first book. I just like DNF'd it at 20%. Additionally, I've kind of thought about like giving the Twilight treatment to the Cassandra Clare Shadowhunters series. I actually threw that out as an idea sometime last year. And the responses that I got were extremely hard, with some people saying, yes, you should totally do this. It would totally work for your Twilight treatment. When I say Twilight treatment, I sort of visited the Twilight series with trying to have the most open mind as possible, trying to interpret the book through the eyes of the intended target audience, trying to identify myself with the audience, and I ended up really enjoying it. I thought maybe Shadowhunters would give me that same vibe, but then people were like, no, it's not the same thing at all. And some people were like, yes, it is. Sometimes it's better. And I didn't know what to do. I got scared and I didn't do anything. Do you guys have a thought on that? A fourth answer for this question could also be the Fractalverse. I didn't like To Sleep in Sea of Stars. The longer that time goes by, the more I realize I didn't like that book. I would like to give Christopher Paolini another shot in his Fractalverse, his like connected universe series of stories. I feel like I still really enjoyed Aragon, but I very much didn't like To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. If I pick up the next Fractalverse book and it's anything at all like that book, I will DNF it and the whole series and be done. Question number 8, a new release you have no interest in reading. What does new release mean for books? For like video games or music, it's like really, you gotta be on top of everything. But for books, it's like, the next couple years is fine. That's a new release. How about Ready Player 2? I didn't read Ready Player 1. But I don't want to say no interest, very little interest in reading Ready Player 1 because I have a built-in anti-bias for 80s nostalgia. I think it just comes from being born in the year 1990 and having parents that were really heavily into 80s, and the 80s being the first decade that like marketing companies realized they could lock it up and just fire at people in concentrated doses and like market nostalgia to you. So everything is like 80s influence. TV shows are 80s influence. Music is 80s influence in a way that I think it's just because like, oh, it was my parents' generation. I'm like, no, it's not cool. The problem is with me. I'm sure it's with me, but it's made me less interested in Ready Player 1. As a side note, I think that maybe Stranger Things is a really amazing show because in spite of the fact that it reeks of the 80s, I still love it because I'm not a fan of the 80s vibe. I will say the first time I tried to watch Stranger Things season 2, I almost completely noped because it starts off real freaking hard with that 80s hit. Like it just slams it down your throat at the beginning. I was like, I don't know if I like this. But I pushed through and I ended up being okay. I'm okay now. Another answer is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I don't talk about it a lot on the channel, but I didn't love The Hunger Games. I think the first book was okay and interesting. The second book was fine, and the third book was not good at all. I think the third book is quite bad. Is that an unpopular opinion here? Is that weird? Does everyone know that third book is not good? Anyway, I have no interest in reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Frankly, I feel like the author of The Hunger Games just decided to give up in the middle of writing the third book. I don't think she cared. Oh, another one relevant to adult fantasy, The City We Became. One of my booktube friends, Deanie, was doing a series of science fiction and fantasy short stories and going through those and sort of analyzing those. And she did the N.K. Jemisin story that The City We Became was based on. I think it's also the prologue of The City We Became. And I just did not click with it on any level. Conceptually, I like the idea for The City We Became, and like these cities be like these entities, and they have these avatars that manifest different powers based on the cultures in the cities. But that short story didn't work for me at all. And the fact that it was included as the prologue for this book, and I've heard from many people that it's very different, like it's very different from the prologue. I didn't like it at all, and I don't think I would like that book. And that is the final question on this tag. It's been a minute. Thank you guys for sticking around. Now I get to do the fun thing where I pick other people to do this tag as well. Victoria from A Musical Bookworm. I'm tagging you. I think it would be awesome to see your answers to this. I don't think you've done this one before. And you like to do tag videos, I think this would be really fun. Next up, Michi. From the Heart of Michi. I'll link her channel down below as well. She used to be just a psychology channel, but she's been branching into her other interests, including books, which has been awesome. I love that she's been reading more. It's been super fun to talk about books with her. And I don't think I've ever seen her do a tag video. Maybe she won't want to do this one, but I think it would be really fun to hear her answers. Finally, I also want to tag the guys over at Q&TG. TBG. Their channel will also be linked down below. I have a lot of fun talking with these guys. We've talked Stormlight Archive. We also talk a lot of video games. I think this would be a super fun tag to see them do. I don't know how many tags they normally do, but I think that it would be fun for them to do this one. So guys, please do this one. You're tagged. Finally, lastly, but leastly, if you are watching this video and you enjoy books and the book community and you've always considered starting a booktube channel, use this opportunity right now. I am tagging you. You know who you are. Feel free to start your channel and use this as your first video. And if you do, let me know either in the comments down below or in my Discord, and I will do my best to let other people see that as well. You are tagged. This community wants to hear your answers. So please, if you want to start a channel, go start a channel. The time has come. The time is now. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you have thoughts on anything that I've said here, please leave them down in the comments below. If you liked or disliked this video, please remember to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you'd like to see more videos from me, please hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to have more discussions from me about books or other things, there's a link down below to a free Discord that everybody can access. And if you'd like to support what I do here on the channel financially, there's a link down below to a Patreon, as well as a merch store with a bunch of dumb shirts and stuff that I made. I hope this video was entertaining for you. I hope to see you again soon. Until next time, goodbye.
No one ever get enough. Always looking out tired, sleep. No one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired. Sleep. No one ever get enough. Always looking out tired, sleep. No one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired.